I'm driving, looking for somewhere to smoke, and I find this street. And so the street's long. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to drive down this street and I'll get to the bottom of the street. I'll put my hazards on and I'll just do like my Angela Bassett moment and I'll just get out the car and smoke. Hopefully this will calm me down. I will feel better. So I drive down the street and there's not really many houses on this street. So I pull over and I put my hazards on and I get out the car. And when I look over, I see these people coming out of their house and they're looking at me like, who is that? What's she doing? I'm like, oh my God. So I didn't want to get shot. So I got back in my car, hadn't smoked a cigarette. I did my 3-point turn and I got out of there. I'm like, girl, this could be wrong turn. So turn around. So I turned around, got out of there, went down the street. And I'm like, okay, let me look for somewhere else to smoke. So I'm driving. I'm like, God, I just want to feel better. I'm just going to smoke these cigarettes because I am going to feel better. So I find this like industrial area and I'm like, okay, cool. Here's an industrial area right here. It didn't look like too many employees were over there. So I was like, I can pull down in this little industrial area. If anything, they may think that I work for one of the companies and I could just get out and smoke. If I see somebody that looks familiar, I could just jump back in my car. This looks like a perfect area. So I drive down in the little industrial area. I pull my car over. And that was the whole thing of like, okay, let me try to get this cigarette lighter to work. And then I finally get it lit. And then I'm like, okay, how do I hold it? I've seen people do this. I've seen people do this. Anyway, so I'm making a big deal out of nothing. So I get out the car and I'm like, okay, I'm about to smoke. The cigarette is lit. I'm going to do my Angela Bassett. I'm going to take a couple of puffs. Hopefully I don't choke. And I'm going to feel better. All of this is what I'm thinking. So I get out the car, stand beside the car, and as I'm about to put the cigarette up to my mouth, I look at the top of the building. And when I look at the top of the building, there's a sign on the building. It is a church. And it wasn't just any church. The pastor's name on the church was a friend of my mom's. I knew this pastor very well. I did not know their church was there. As a matter of fact, if this pastor sees this video, he may or may not know who I'm talking about. If so, hopefully he's laughing with me. But y'all, I was like, oh my God, this is the church. This is a church of a friend of my mom's. So I literally had to laugh at myself at this point because it was almost like my mom was saying, girl, what are you doing? Put that cigarette out. Like it was just not meant to be for me to smoke this cigarette. So I put the cigarette out on the ground and I crushed it up and I put it inside the box, got in my car because I didn't see the pastor, of course, but I just started getting paranoid. Like, God, was he looking out the window? Like, what if he saw me on a camera or something? So I went to, another gas station and I threw the cigarettes away. Needless to say, I never did smoke the cigarettes, but I just said this to say, and I hopefully y'all got, a good laugh out of this, because that day after I realized what I had done, I had to laugh at myself. So after that, I did feel better because it was almost like my mom was, without getting weird, was like sending me some sort of sign like, girl, stop it. You are not getting ready to smoke cigarettes to feel better. You will be fine. And so I think that was God's humor too. Like, girl, this is what you get. You don't need cigarettes. And again, no judgment to those people who smoke. This is not what I'm trying to do. It was just, that was not for me. That was not the thing that was for me. Honestly, I didn't start feeling better until I started hearing other people's story about how weird grief was to them. And so how they were able to work it out through talking to other people, through by going through therapy, just different ways that they dealt with how grief was weird for them. That kind of helps you to feel like I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only one that's feeling weird. Weird thoughts don't just come to my head. They come to other people's head too. I'm very curious to know what other weird things have come up for you guys, when you've experienced grief. But that was just something that's always stuck out in my head because I was determined to self-soothe my emotions that day because I didn't know what else to do with them. I didn't want to reach out to family because I didn't want to make them sad. I felt like they were feeling sad like I was, and I didn't want to make them sad. So I felt like I could figure this out on my own and I can do it this way. And it was just a hot mess, y'all. It was a hot mess, me trying to smoke. Oh my God. But anyway, so that was that. I want to encourage you today to know you're not alone in some of the weird thoughts that you have with grief. This is just what grief does. It comes in waves. Sometimes you don't know what to do with it. And so you just kind of pull for different ways to feel better. And so I want to let you know you're not alone in your thoughts. And the best thing to do is find someone who understands and share it with them. And then you guys can come up with ways together to figure out what to do with this weird thing called grief. The up days will come, the down days will come, but communication and community and building relationships with people that understand what you're going through are super important. So that's my story today that I wanted to share with you about how I dealt with the weird thoughts of grief. And yeah, if no one told you today they love you, God loves you, I love you. Until next time, see you sooner. Bye.